Hey guys, John Bullion here, facilitator of SPED Funding Masterclass, and I thought it'd be interesting and hopefully helpful to provide you with a little more context on course overview and navigation through the Canvas platform. Now, if you've never been in Canvas or used Canvas as a blended learning platform, don't stress. It's a pretty intuitive, user-friendly platform. I think the most important thing to remember is you're going to know what you need to know before you need to know it. That's the goal of this course, is giving you enough information for us to move from point A to point B, C, D, who knows, maybe we'll get to Z. But when you look at the Canvas course, when you get into it, this is probably more of a designer view you're seeing here, but you'll see that you're going to land on what's called this home page when you come into the course. And the course is going to give you this kind of streamlined way to go through it. And so what you do is, you just come over, and of course, if you want to watch that wonky video I made where I was like a robot, telling you about the course, please do. And then when you want to dive into a little more content, you go to the course overview and click that, and that's going to take you here to the facilitator page. And this just is a little bit of information about my background, research, and role here at ESC Region 12 as a special ed liaison. There's a little video if you want to watch it. It ties in kind of my SPED Leadership Academies and the forums we do here in Region 12 for directors, taking a deeper dive into some of this content that is, sometimes it's hard to really get a grasp of this stuff, and SPED funding is one of those things. So the idea was, what if we took one of those, meetings that follows our director meetings and break it out into, into these monthly kind of meetings that we could attend virtually that have extended learning opportunities tied to them. And so there's information here, probably more than you ever want, but there's some links there to, other creations that I've done. And there's my SPED transformation slides from my doctoral studies, much of which I try to tie into this SPED funding course in that, it's my belief that if we're going to move past kind of procedural compliance and how we go about, helping kids learn, we're going to have to look at how we allocate our funds. And so that's kind of the overarching piece here. When you get into the course overview, and I hope you saw, all you do is scroll down the page like this, and then you can hit next, and it'll advance you in the course. So when you get to course overview, what you're going to find is, there's some basic information about Masterclass as a framework, because this is a theoretical framework that ties together some specific kind of phases or processes for lack of better terms. And it really involves strategizing, synthesizing, analyzing, maximizing, and optimizing. And, that's kind of how my brain works. It likes to connect dots and connect concepts. And I tend to practice in counseling for many years as an LPC. I was conceptually eclectic, theoretically. And I found that in my work as a director of special education and in my work here at Region 12, that I continue to want to fuse together these different models from different areas. And that's kind of what I've done here with Masterclass. So there's a lot of information here about that. There's more later in the course we'll talk about. This is also where you can get to the pre-survey link. If I remember correct, there's a pre-survey link on the homepage as well. Really want you to take that before our, before we really start the course. That way I can get a feel for kind of where you are in your learning. What are the areas you'd like to learn more about in regards to SPED funding and budgeting and so forth. And then obviously there's here a post survey as well that will hopefully you'll complete for us when we get done to that part of the course. So then it just goes into how the framework itself ties together these phases and processes. It's got Zoom links for each of our meetings, the pre-session meeting, an hour long. Then each of the monthly meetings for those will be 3 hours in length. And there'll be that extended learning opportunity for you to kind of take what you're learning and apply it back in your context and really build kind of your own comprehensive budgeting framework through a kind of a binder activity that we have that is in many ways reflective of how, I was able to organize myself when I was a director in the area of budgeting and programs. But really it's just meant to give you artifacts that you can then, you can kind of anchor and leverage to them as you go back and you try to build your own processes in place. So, and then the appendix here will take you to just a lot of theoretical framework that I've built in to explain kind of my process, if you will, but also hyperlinks, the budget binder, kind of the full length document, and just other resources there if you want to go explore those. So advancing through, you get to the masterclass discussion board. This is basically meant to serve as kind of a one-stop shop for questions, content related, structure related with Canvas that the group hopefully can engage in a little bit of conversation. We don't have to be together to still leverage kind of support from one another. So that's what this is intended to be. I'm also kicking around the idea of having some type of an ongoing sounding board for us in between sessions, and maybe an opportunity for maybe a podcast, the biweekly in the months that we are apart, 1 month to the next, maybe a 2-week period having either some type of a podcast or maybe just a board here we can respond to. I don't know, maybe I'll get feedback from the group on that. And then you can also reach out to me, of course, one-on-one. If you have specific questions or you don't feel comfortable asking the group or sharing with the group, I can be contacted at the contact information there. And then you'll see there's a general formatting to this that I'm still developing, but it's going to be in place. The idea is that when you hit these pages, these sections, that these modules is what we call them in Canvas, will have some structure for you. So they're designed in a way, kind of universally designed, so that when you get to this transition page you're looking at here, it's saying, hey, congratulations, course overview, you've completed it. Now, points to ponder, that's just something that I reflect on a lot of times with directors on, what's the big picture, what's the insight, what's the takeaway, and from that search for solutions, which is really the point of this course. How can we leverage and access resources from around the state quickly, expertly, so that we can almost be that director that can operate as though we're on that speedboat like a principal, right? Some people have heard that analogy. When you're a campus administrator, you're buzzing around on the speedboat, right? You're just putting out fires left and right. But when you become, sometimes people transition into that, being a director of special ed, and all of a sudden they have to say, oh, I'm on this cruise ship or this, freight liner or whatever that moves slowly. And so things don't happen quick, and we have to research and take time. The goal is that you form this, just this expertise of being able to find and vet solutions quickly and apply those more like that in which a principal might respond to problems. That's an analogy that I would make. Now, many people would argue you got to go slow to go fast, and there's a lot of this in this course about throttling, kind of how you go about leveraging people, processes, and mindsets for advancing improvements for kids' learning and achievement. So anyway, this page will replicate as you go between sections within Canvas. And so here the pre-session module says this is what's coming up next. We're going from course overview to the pre-session module. You click next and you're going to land on your pre-session module. I won't get into this. Maybe there'll be a video for that one, but basically that's just a few nuts and bolts, how Canvas works. You're going to know what you need to know before you need to know it. That I promise you. Looking forward to our time together, cohort 1, SPED funding masterclass. This is going to be fun, guys. We'll talk soon.